DNA leader Branville Mccartney bids a final farewell to his brother as the murder investigation continues.
I want us to all remember the glad times.
The Attorney General denies government-consulted NYGARD on the stem cell bill. The Tourism Minister addresses controversial construction in Bimini.
You'll have those who are for and those who are against.
Time changes in a few hours. We'll give you the details, plus the National Stadium to get a major makeover.
You're getting a new track.
We've got those stories and more for you tonight. I'm Nakia DeVoe, and this is NB12 Weekend. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Here's what's coming out of the NB12 newsroom this weekend. Just over a week after he was gunned down near Gambier Village, Kurt Mccartney was laid to rest following a service of Thanksgiving this morning. Mccartney, the brother of Democratic National Alliance leader Branville Mccartney, was remembered as a loyal brother and son and a dedicated worker who was also known for his wit and charm. But as McCartney's family and friends gave their final respects, Reverend Father Peter Scott issued a call to action in the face of the horrific crime that led to McCartney's death. Christina McNeil has more in tonight's top story.
Reverend Peter Scott delivering a bold message from the pulpit this morning. He called on the nation to begin addressing the root causes of crime by beginning first in the home.
The real cause of crime, and the only way that we will ever be able to control it and hopefully one day eliminate it, is if we start in our homes. If we start in our homes and move into the schools and into the churches.
He says far too often parents find themselves having to bury their children and other loved ones. But he notes that parents should begin taking more responsibility for the actions of their children.
I hope one day, you might call me radical, but I hope one day that we can bring legislation that will bring parents up on charges in this country. Parents who are in church every Sunday, worshiping the Lord, screaming hallelujah, and they know what's going on with their children. They know when their child brings something home that they don't know where their child got that from. And it starts as early as primary school, even maybe preschool. We can't spend our time just giving them academics, teaching them how to read and write. We need to spend some quality time in the classroom and teaching them manners and respect, teaching them what is right and wrong. Because of many of them are not getting it in the home. That's why I said maybe one day we'll have to have ways to bring parents up on charges, because parents should know where their children are in the night.
While recognizing the fatal shooting that brought McCartney's family and friends together to celebrate his life, the McCartney family pledged to remember the good times they shared with Kurt and everything he represented.
Let's don't think about the negative that happened that caused this day to be upon us right now. The fatal incident that happened. I want us to all remember the glad times.
Kurt supported his church. Kurt supported his community. Kurt supported his staff. Kurt loved his God. He told me that to my face. Be very strong. Be very strong. Your hand upholds and grips the solid rock.
Reverend Scott commended the police force for the work it has done to fight crime, but said it is up to every Bahamian to do his or her part.
We need to stop talking about making the Bahamas better. We need to live it and make it better. And it must start from the top and come right down. Every citizen of this Bahamas would take some responsibility. It's not a matter of just putting bars in your windows. It's not a matter of just putting alarms in your homes. If all of us would take this seriously, Kurt Mccartney would still be here today.
Reverend Scott encouraged everyone to be better citizens, better sisters, better brothers, as he prayed for all who have lost loved ones to crime and violence. Reporting for NB12, I'm Christina McNeil.
Well, police continue to pursue leads in the investigation into Kurt Mccartney's death. Officer in charge of the Central Detective Unit, Paul Roll, tells our news team that tips continue to come in and police continue to follow up on them. Earlier this week, police released all 8 people who were taken into custody for questioning in connection to McCartney's murder. McCartney was fatally shot near Gambia Village October 24th. His family has offered a $50,000 reward for information leading to arrest and conviction. Anyone with information is asked to contact police at 919, the Central Detective Unit at 502-9991, or Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS. Well, Attorney General Allison Maynard Gibson yesterday denied that controversial Lyford Key resident Peter Nygaard played any role in drafting the stem cell law passed by Parliament in August. Nygaard claimed in a recent YouTube video that he, quote, initiated and helped to write the stem cell legislation, which was eventually passed in the Bahamas. The claim was included in a nearly 10-minute video about Nygaard and his journey with stem cell research titled PJN Breakthrough 926. Maynard Gibson said it's not true. In a statement yesterday, she said, while Mr. Nygaard's commitment to stem cell therapies is well known and his support for the new legislation is welcome, he did not participate in the drafting of the legislation. The Attorney General also said Nygaard did not meet with her and that the members of the legislative drafting team responsible for the stem cell legislation advised her that none of them met with or consulted him. Now, Maynard Gibson said the recent passage of stem cell legislation was a landmark achievement for the country, ensuring that expert scientific and ethics committees now review proposals from those doctors and scientists seeking to establish stem cell research and therapy centers in the Bahamas. Prime Minister Perry Christie has also denied that Nygaard was involved in drafting the law. Christie said the Canadian fashion designer contributed to the thinking on stem cells, but the legislation was a combined effort between legal advisors in Washington, D.C. and the Office of the Attorney General. In other news, Tourism Minister Obi Wilscombe reassuring Bimini residents that the government is acting in the best interests of people on that island regarding the construction of the North Bimini Ferry Terminal. Some residents and environmentalists have expressed concern over the construction, which Resorts World Bimini says will bring economic benefits and hundreds of thousands of visitors from Miami to Bimini on an annual basis. Now, Wilscombe says the government is well aware of residents' concerns and is confident that proper precautions are being taken.
Bimini is the gateway to the Bahamas. It always will be. And residents, you will have those who are for and those who are against. It's just, again, back to the democracy. The impact of the project to Bimini, they all see it, they all understand it, and they all want further growth and development. And so, but they also want you to respect their island. And they want you to respect what makes this island unique. The fact that you have the mangroves, you have the fishing flats, the fact that it is the fishing capital of the Bahamas. We make greater demands of the developers than people know. It's just that we can't go in the press every day and talk about the things that we tell the developers. And I know, and I'm not talking out of school here, I just know the Prime Minister's positions and the strong positions that he's taken in reference to this project and everything in ensuring certain things are done correctly and to ensure that Bahamians are on the job site.
Now, this comes after Minister of State for Investments Kalis Roll has argued that he fails to see the relevance of concerns raised an environmental impact assessment for a study to be conducted to determine if the ferry terminal will produce the number of visitor arrival Resorts World Bimini claims it will. In addition, the Bahamas National Trust has expressed concern over the possible impact on coral reefs in the area of the proposed terminal. Wilscombe advises residents and other environmentalists to do their research in the project.
The environmentalist is no more concerned than I am or anybody else in this country. None of us would want our country destroyed. No Bahamian would want would want that and would allow that. I don't know whether or not the environmentalists have sat with the developers, have had a thorough discussion with the developers, have sat with Best and have a thorough discussion with Best. I see all this reaction, but nobody's sitting down and talking, when I think they should sit down and talk.
Resorts World Bimini expects to spend $10 to $15 million on the terminal's construction. Meantime, the government is hoping to create a new city in North Andros by building the planned $4 million Agricultural and Marine Science Research Institute on that island. The idea was born from the realization that the Bahamas needs to learn to feed itself, as food security will continue to be a major issue in the future. It is also an attempt to revive the sponge and sisal industries. Prime Minister Perry Christie said earlier this week that work has already begun on the agricultural aspect of the project.
The agricultural will start now, because when the school starts in September of next year, those students who come in will have crops growing, because they're going to be taught how to grow, best practices in growing, and we're going to be able to do that. And this is where the sisal and everything comes in, and the sponge, everything comes in.
The Institute, a subsidiary of the College of the Bahamas, is expected to welcome its first set of students in September 2014 after its classroom blocks, dormitories, and administration buildings are finished in June. Earlier this year, Prime Minister Perry Christie expressed optimism about the long-term impact of the Institute and how it will help to improve the economy. He said the facility is expected to be fully self-serving within 5 years. It is estimated that the Bahamas spends around $500 million per year on food imports. The Prime Minister is hoping that the facility will significantly reduce that number, and that the country will also be able to export more produce and sell it to the many cruise ships that call on the Nassau port.
My grandfather could have exported tomatoes, and all my mother and their sisters in packing houses, packing tomatoes for export in Mccartney Lane, where the packing house was. If they could have done that then, as I said to Mickey Harrison, who agreed 20 years ago, if we could produce, Carnival would buy our produce. So we're having a teaching institute that starts now that will be marine and teaching and agriculture.
The Institute is being built on the site of the old agricultural research facility and will include a tutorial commercial farm. It will offer diploma and certification programs as well as skills training, and its curriculum will combine both academic and practical components. Christie estimates that initiatives sparked by the school could potentially place a 15% dent in the country's total food imports.